Everybody ought to know, so everywhere we got to go. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. We are reaching the fourth part of this series, 5 parts total. Go into all the world. That's the gospel commission that Jesus gave to us. But why? But why would he tell us to go everywhere? I think he tells us to go everywhere because that is where his grace goes. It is to all of us. But before we go any further, we want to thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button. It helps others see this study. And of course, pass it on. Just take it, hit the share button, give it to someone else to bless their hearts. And also, we invite you over to the website, changeministry.org. There's Sabbath School Youth Group. They're the same deep Bible studies, but they're in cartoon form. So it makes it simple, engaging, 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Go check it out, pass it on, and be blessed. Mark chapter 16 is where we are. Because it's the last chapter in the book of Mark, that's where we go to the end of this story. In Mark 16, Jesus is giving the disciples a commission or a call. He's giving us a commission or a call. We talked about the grace of this in our previous study, if you haven't checked that out. So that grace that now has been given to us, by extension now, it should go to all that world. Mark 16:19 says, "So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, after he had spoken, he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. And they went forth and they preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs following." Amen. The gospel needs to go to all the world because the grace of God is offered to all the world. When Jesus was crucified, he was crucified on a cross. And how his posture was is indicative of his very last thought. His last thought was with arms open. He died hugging us. He died holding all of us. And he died reaching out, helping all of us. He was trying to save everyone. And it's why it's to everyone that he wants his disciples, his church, to go. One of the greatest testimonies to that is Paul. And you see the spectrum of his, and you can see the spectrum of his ministry, the range of his evangelism to testify that Jesus paid it all for all, whether it was in a palace like in Acts 26, verse 1-3, where then Agrippa, this is King Agrippa, said unto Paul, "Thou art permitted to speak for thyself." Then Paul stretched forth the hand and answered for himself. And he says, "I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself this day before thee touching all the things whereof I am accused of the Jews, especially because I know thee to be an expert in all customs and questions which are among the Jews. Wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently." Paul was about to tell his story. He's about to testify to the grace of God through the ministry of Jesus in his life. And as he's telling this story, he's doing it before a king. He's standing in a palace preaching the gospel of Jesus. So on the one hand, you've got a palace. But not just in a palace is Paul preaching. We even find him preaching in a prison. This is in Acts chapter 16, verse 27. Acts 16:27 says, "And the keeper of the prison, awaking out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and he would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul, there as an ambassador in the place of Christ, Christ is calling through Paul. Paul cries with a loud voice saying, 'Do thyself no harm, for we're all here.' Then he called for a light and he sprang in and came trembling and he fell down before Paul and Silas. The jailer, the keeper of the prison, brings them out and says, 'Sirs, what must I do to be saved?'" Paul is preaching in a prison and he wasn't visiting. He was a resident. He was an inmate, incarcerated, but still anointed. He is there in prison and he preaches the gospel to where the brother, it literally says, "What do I have to do to be saved?" And Jesus is there through his missionaries and he ministers to them and he preaches in a prison. So whether it was a palace or whether it was a prison, The words of the commission are true. Go ye into all the world. God sends us where he can see us being of use. And where he sees us being of use, we can rest assured that there will be those who will be saved. So whether it's in your classroom, whether it's in your cubicle, whether it's in a Zoom meeting, whether it's in your own kitchen or someone else's kitchen, everybody ought to know. So it's everywhere we got to go because it's for everyone that Jesus has died to save.